Hello, world, and welcome to Balls Deep. My name is Alan Gigax, and I am your co-host, along with Anthony Scafacci, who is here next to me. And Anthony, what the fuck is this shit? What are we listening to?
Well, welcome to the debut episode of the Balls Deep EA Sports College Football Headquarters podcast.
Oh, that's a lot of things.
Yep, but it's a mouthful, just like our balls.
There you go.
Yep, but we're going to try to get this out and try to reach all our members now and start to explain how it is we got here, what we're doing, and what the future looks like.
Right on. So we have a Facebook fan group for EA Sports College Football, which is probably the greatest video game there is. We've been playing it since back in the day when it was called Bill Walsh College Football. And among ourselves, we still refer to it as the game formerly known as Bill Walsh. And pretty much every iteration from then to now, including the current EA Sports College Football 25, which kicks ass and is a lot of fun. So tell us a bit about the page.
Well, the page started because we kind of were part of another page. We were making stories there and having a good time, but the administrators there kept messing with us. They kept
there were squares.
They kept having us edit and change things. They kept threatening to ban me for various stupid things. So I decided, you know what? I'm just going to make my own page and fuck them. And we'll just go ahead and destroy them now. So that's what we did.
Now let me ask you this. Is the page that you created better than the other page?
I don't know if it's better. It's different.
No, fuck that. It's better.
Well, I don't want to... They have a good page, right? They've been around for quite a while. They do their thing, though, and we do ours. Ours is different. Ours is geared towards...
creativity.
Creativity.
Yeah.
Right? We are... I like to call it content creator heaven.
Yeah, right. And that's what drove us away from the last page is like Anthony and I make these crazy ass stories about, it started with like Road to Glory, where we would make our players and just tell each other stories that were idiotic and fun and wild. And then we started writing these stories up for this old EA college football page. And it was too hot for TV.
Yeah.
They didn't like it. Yeah, they were.
Yeah, it was a little too much. We were definitely pushing the boundaries.
Yeah.
We were not all vanilla flavor. We were using colorful language and colorful topics.
Right.
And, we got pretty immediate pushback, but the people on the page liked it.
Right.
And they started to build up a pretty good following. And one story kind of just led to another. And then before you knew it, the stories kind of stopped being about the game as much and more about the stories.
Yeah.
And just kind of loosely tied to the game. But it was good.
Right. Yeah, one of the things that we don't like is just coach speak. That we have this fantasy world of the video game where anything can happen and there's no rules here. And so if you say that we're going to go out there and we're going to fuck up the other team and we're going to put our cleats in their assholes, nothing bad happens. And so there's no reason to get onto one of these pages, write your story and be like, well, we're going to take it one game at a time and leave it all on the field. Fuck that.
Yeah.
That's no fun.
That is so boring. It's thoughtless. It's shitty fan fiction to something that doesn't require it. Just have a good time. Say what it is you would say if you were a coach and you couldn't get fired.
Right. And I think that's part of the problem these other people have is the game in a certain way fulfills that fantasy of being a coach and running a team. And so they're like, oh, if I was the coach, I would do what coaches do.
Yeah.
No, man. Coaches only do that because they can't have fun. They can't do that crazy shit.
Yeah. They don't want to lose $6 million a year because they talk about doing an upper decker in the opposing team's, coach's toilet. That's the kind of trash talk we're doing.
Yeah.
And the kind of pranks that we're pulling on the rivals is, we're like lighting their cars on fire, kidnapping coaches.
Right.
We're doing whatever it takes to win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, leave it all on the field, including dumps at the 50-yard line.
If necessary.
If necessary.
Yeah, you got to desecrate their field.
Yeah. So we have this ecosystem that we're creating at our college football page, EA Sports College Football Headquarters. And it's a place where if you have these creative ideas, if you have these wild programs that you want to do, you come to us and we're a nurturing environment for that.
Yeah. So what we want to really pride ourselves on is giving content creators the room to make fun, engaging, interesting content that doesn't sound like everything else.
Right.
If you go and you watch people's streams or you watch their YouTube channels, they're all basically the same. I mean, there's very few people out there that really stand out. And what we're hoping to do is foster an environment where people can push the envelope a little, really start to create something that is different. And maybe with a audience of right now 68,000 people, you can definitely attract some people to your channel if you put content out and you make it interesting and fun.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's definitely the angle we want to go to.
All right, so how long has the page been in existence?
It's about 2 years old now.
Okay.
We started very small, obviously. It was just me and Alan, and we invited a couple of people that followed our writing. Mm-hmm. It was probably no more than, say, 8 or 10 different people that were pretty steady.
Right.
And then we just started putting our content there, and through, I'm not exactly sure how, but through just consistency, we started to grow.
Yeah, just always putting out content of some kind.
Yeah, I mean, some of it, was silly, some of it sucked, whatever. But we put that content out. We started just putting our stories there, and whatever we could think of, it went on there. And then as the release of College Football 25 started to get closer, we noticed that, more and more people were starting to join. And then before you know it, it was like the floodgates opened.
Yeah, there must be something in the Facebook algorithm where people must have been searching for College Football 25, something like that. And it just started driving people to our page. And what kind of growth were we seeing?
At one point, for about 45 days straight, we were over 1,000 people a day.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, sometime around January of, I want to say 23.
Okay.
Things we were at, I don't know, around 4,000 members. And then suddenly, between late January and April, we gained like 40,000 members.
It must have been
insanity.
It must have been when the hype was starting to build that this game was going to come out.
Sure.
Which wound up getting pushed back for a year.
Yeah, it did get pushed back for a year. But by that point, we kind of had the ball rolling.
Right.
And we were still putting out content. I was putting out content every 1 or 2 days.
Right.
Different things. And then, the community started to form. And it's been a little rough at times because we're kind of the Wild West out there. There wasn't a lot of rules or anything there to govern. We really wanted people to be free to just create and to get nuts, and do whatever, and
to have a welcoming environment where that sort of creativity is encouraged.
Yes.
You don't want to just post something that you think is really wild and then people shit on it.
No, that's terrible.
Yeah, that discourages that sort of thing.
Yeah, and definitely, there's some people that don't get it. They're not sure what to make of the stories, or they're not sure what to make of, some of the questions that get asked, and I have to explain to people pretty regularly that, when you're bringing in not only people that played the previous games, but now it's being introduced to an entire new generation.
Right.
And a lot of these people never played college football because
there was a 10-year gap.
Yeah, there was a 10-year gap.
Yeah, and they were like 6 years old when it came out last time.
And now you have these, young 16, 17-year-old players, into their 20s and early 30s. And then on the other end, you have people in their late 40s and 50s that are still eager to play this game because it reminds them of when they were younger. It's something good.
People that age playing the game must be losers.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of them.
Yeah.
All I know is that their reflexes aren't what they used to be.
No, dude.
Yeah, and there's way too many fucking buttons now. Things are, there's a lot going on, and there is a learning curve, but it's a lot of fun. The presentation is top notch.
Yeah, it's no Tecmo Bowl.
No,
but
it's definitely
pretty
not.
Good. Yeah, it's pretty good. So now the game is out. We've been playing for a couple of weeks now.
Yes.
And give me some of your first impressions.
So visually, it's amazing. I mean, it's. I remember the original Bill Walsh.
Right.
And you couldn't be further from that.
Right.
It's definitely, next generation. The graphics, the smoothness, the way everything moves. The gameplay itself is really, really good. It does seem like there's some quality of life things that were maybe present in the old games in NCAA 14, in 13, 12, and going back that just didn't somehow make it in here.
Give me an example.
So like for example, you hear a lot of people complain about like mass subs.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you can't do mass subs. It used to be present in the old game. It's a quality of life thing. It was just something that was really
just makes
quick.
it easier, yeah.
Yeah, it just makes it easier.
Right.
There
Formation subs.
Formation subs. Formation subs for me are a big deal. I love to be able to bring in running backs and different things and different formations, even on the defensive side of the ball.
Right.
And the fact that you can't easily do that and just set it and forget it, it's pretty frustrating.
But there may be ways to do that in this game, like maybe when you're calling plays.
Well, I think I did actually stumble across some formation subs where you could do like your nickel corner, for example, or your third down back or a slot back. I did find it, but it's not as clear cut as it used to be. Where it's just like, I only want this guy in this formation. Right. Now it seems more situational.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So there may be things about this is a good example of where there may be aspects of the game that we complain about now, but it's just because we're not used to it.
Sure.
And a really good example of that too is the new kicking system.
Oh yeah, that's an adventure.
Yeah, when it first came out, everybody's like, dude, kicking sucks. I missed extra points. They go straight to the sideline. And dude, I'm here to tell you that you have to hold down the kick button.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I killed a fan with like my first kick.
Right.
Yeah, just
exactly.
Somebody took one in the mush and they're done.
I only play on PlayStation, but when you move the left stick, L3, that aims your kick, and then you've got the slider going back and forth. Obviously, you press the button when it's in the middle, but then you hold down the button to get the power of your kick, and you want to release it when that kick meter is essentially full, but not too full, because if it goes all the way full, then you overpower it and it can go wild on you.
He just and
exactly.
It's off the chain.
Right. So there you go. There's your first pro tip from the crew here at Balls Deep. Right.
Yes. So Alan, why don't you tell me about your first impression?
Yeah, I really like the game because I like the steering. You know, I'm an old guy. I'm almost 50 years old.
God damn.
I know. That's
fucking
too
dinosaur.
Old. And if I had hair, it would be gray. Yeah, my other hair is gray, just in case. I'm sure you wanted to know that. So anyway, I like the steering because to me it feels more intuitive. Like I use my left stick to steer the guy, and then I mostly use the right stick to do what I want to do, to juke, to mostly bull, or what do you put your head down? Yeah. What do you call that? Trucking, right? Because I'm a conservative, old-fashioned player. And on offense, like people say, oh, you run the ball, you always run the ball between the tackles. I like to run the ball between the guards.
Yeah, if you don't have to go anywhere outside the center's asshole, that's good enough.
Right, exactly. Just push the stick forward, push the other stick forward, and you get like 4 yards and
move on.
Yeah, hopefully, on 14, it was not unusual for me to have like 17 play drives that would get me down. And so because I like that kind of play, it's worked out pretty well. There hasn't been this bad learning curve, but the passing...
Yeah, the passing is it's a different beast now.
Yeah, so with the rushing, one of the things I really like about the new game is that blockers are no longer dipshits. It used to be like if you run into the outside, your fullback would be out in front of you and he would just run past the outside linebacker, and it drove me nuts. But now they seem to make those blocks, which is really helpful. But man, you know who else has gotten smarter? Linebackers.
Yeah, linebackers have gotten smarter.
And it seems like they're actually looking into the backfield. And so when you throw past them, they just step over and grab the ball and do the interceptions. I mean, that's something everybody's complaining about.
Yeah, so right away on the page, probably the first thing is people complaining about how many interceptions they throw, how often they're throwing them, and that they just can't seem to stop. Yeah. There is a new passing system, which obviously is taking some getting used to.
Right.
You could still opt to go to the older passing system, which I haven't done. I'm like, screw it.
Yeah, I'm just going to
try to learn the new one and go from there. Reading defenses, it used to be something on the old game that was really simplistic. Right. Now they made it more complicated. They made it more in depth. You can play shells, different things like that.
Right.
So, and I've always believed that the computer cheats in the sense that it always knows what you're calling. And you cannot fool it, so to speak.
I don't know if that's built into the game or not. It's supposed to be. Like, if you don't ever disguise defenses, then the opposing quarterback's supposed to pick you apart more easily.
Yes. Yeah. So I don't know, because I just haven't played enough games yet to see how the computer reacts. Now, I know when you play players, it definitely is effective to disguise your coverages.
Yeah.
Because most people that play college football on a video game never played it in real life. And on top of that, they certainly never coached it.
Right.
And they certainly don't have the base of football knowledge to know exactly what's going on. Although, if you go on our page at any given time, there's probably 4,000 people who think they're about ready to step in and be Alabama's next defensive coordinator. It's actually kind of hilarious because most people, I mean, I coached football at a youth level. Most people that did coach football did it only at a youth level, maybe high school. Very few members of our page, I would say, actually coached college level football
or played. I know there are some who played college
we definitely have some players, which is pretty cool. That I think we do have some actual players playing now that are actually members of our page. Yeah. And for the most part, though, they keep pretty quiet.
Right.
Probably because they don't. I don't think other people would speak their language. Put it that way.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing because this game really is set up where if you can understand defensive schemes, if you understand like what the linebackers are trying to do, if you know like if they're dropping into their zones or if they're following your player, if you can actually read defense, it helps.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, at least if you can basically read a defense, it helps. If you can understand kind of what they're trying to take away from you, then you can definitely have some success. But I'm telling you, I always consider myself pretty good at reading defenses on the older games.
Right.
I knew exactly what they were doing. Now, at this point, I feel either like I'm drunk or high or maybe both.
Well, part of it is that you're old,
yes,
but also it's that you're new. And I think that's what a lot of people are losing in the frustration that they have right now is if you were playing NCAA 14, you've been playing it for 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
And you could play on Heisman and you could win every game. The new game, you're just not good at it yet.
Yeah. And that is obviously people, I think, were maybe a bit of culture shock.
Yeah.
That they weren't prepared for a learning curve. They thought, well, I used to just annihilate the computer and I'd win 99% of my games.
Right.
And so now I'm going to turn this on and right away I'm going to win 99% of my games.
Yeah. And if I'm not, the game must
then
be
it must be the game. It's not
definitely
me.
The game.
Yeah,
no.
just like the guy who throws 4 picks and then benches his quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely that guy.
Right.
He's the asshole.
Yeah.
So
all right. So with some of the creativity that we want from the game, we are here to help with your creative endeavors. Anthony is a genius at coming up with new characters. Like one of his best characters that he wrote about, that a whole universe was created, came from somebody else just asking, hey, I want to make a new coach. Was it a coach for Jelly?
Yeah, they were asking, they wanted an idea for a new coach so that they could make a dynasty.
Right.
And so everybody, there was a lot of different comments on the post and everything like that. And I just came up with an idea just off the top of my head.
Before you say the idea, what people commonly do is they'll be like, oh, I'm going to make Coach Johnny Manziel, and he goes back to his college, or I'm going to make Coach Terrell Owens. And like, so what? He doesn't do anything that's unique, and there's nothing there. So what? That's his name. It doesn't mean anything. We like to come up with characters that are different.
Absolutely.
All right, so go ahead.
So I threw up just a little quick, just blurt out of my mouth of the idea of a coach who is essentially uneducated from West Virginia, who was a jizz mopper in a peep show / truck slop / beef jerky store along the road, who
and what was it called?
His name was Jelly.
Well, no, the store.
The store was called the Jerkin' Jerky.
There you go.
And the idea was that he had this mop that was covered in jizz, basically.
Yeah.
And he decided he was going to be something better in life, so he wanted to become a college football coach. And so he went out to go seek that job and eventually found it actually in...
you wound up taking the story.
Yeah.
That's the wild thing is like people are like, oh my God, this is a great idea. It's so funny. And then they don't do anything with it.
Sure.
So you did something with it.
So I was like, you know what? That idea is so stupid.
Yeah.
It's so fucking retarded that I have to do something with it.
Right.
And so I did. And I created this character and I just called him Jelly.
Yeah.
And he became like almost like a person in my head where I could have a conversation as this guy and come up with all these different things that for him were kind of unique. Like he didn't have an office; he had the football thinking room.
Yeah, that's right.
Where he would go do all his football thinking.
And the mop kind of became a character of its own as well, because here's this stiff, sticky, disgusting mop that he used for years to mop up jizz at the Jerk and Jerky.
Yeah.
And it became a motivational tool.
Sure,
he would tell the players
that if you don't go to school,
yeah,
you're going to end up mopping jizz, and he would show them the mop,
right,
and then they would go out and they would play their asses off to avoid that fate.
Yeah, they don't want to wind up as jizz moppers.
which probably nobody does, but this guy, he turned it into a positive, and that's something that we thought was fun.
Yeah.
But the best part of all that is that, we can laugh about it and everything like that, but I try to put it out there to entertain our members, right? Because it's just something to read when you're taking a shit or whatever, and maybe you laugh, maybe you don't, maybe you think it's fun, but if you can capture people's enjoyment.
Yeah.
And that they look forward to reading what's going to happen with this next coach. What's he going to do next? What's going to happen next? And that story played out for over a year on our page.
Yeah, and became part of this bigger universe, the Scafacci-verse, that included a phenom quarterback with a rocket arm that literally took people's heads off. It spawned a full novel about a serial killer, which we'll talk about at some point in the future, and other characters. Coach Toast. Yeah. Tell just briefly about Coach Toast.
So Toast was another stupid idea of, after listening to people go to the podium and take questions, I was like, what if the coach had Tourette's syndrome?
Right.
And which isn't something to make fun of.
No,
right?
Certainly
It's not.
No.
However, if you gave a major college football program's coach Tourette's syndrome and put him in front of a microphone, chaos would inevitably ensue.
It might be funny.
Yeah, it might be pretty funny.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I was like, well, let me take it a step further.
Right.
And he's going to carry around a toaster, which is his emotional support toaster. And that's how he kind of got the name. He just got the name Toast.
Dude, I remember from early in the story when he's trying to find a job and he's going to these programs.
Yeah.
And like talking to Coach Jimbo Fisher about being his linebackers coach.
And he calls him a cock flapper and stuff like that. And
exactly.
Yeah, and just, talks about fucking lamps and things like that.
And then when he finally winds up at U Buffalo, like they have no better option.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that program is so bad that they turn to this guy. And he becomes their defensive coordinator.
Right.
And that story was good because it was a story that I wanted to write where the guy never becomes a head coach.
Right.
The story is only about his time as a defensive coordinator.
Right.
Which was fun to do a series that way because it hadn't been done.
Yeah, definitely. And it doesn't just, they don't always have to end and then I win the national championship and then it's all over.
It was more for me about telling a story like, don't judge a book by its cover and things like that, and kind of trying so hard to inject some kind of humanity lesson into this idiotic story.
Yeah, it's wild.
Where the highlights are going to the twerkathon, things like that.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so that's a little bit about what our page is about and the kind of content that you can expect going forward. We're going to talk about events that are going on the Facebook page. We're going to have contests. We obviously sponsor leagues and tournaments. And there'll be a ton of college football content coming forward and more of our insanity. Yeah. And that is what you can expect from Balls Deep in the next few episodes and going forward into the future.
All right. Thanks, Alan, for hosting. And we'll see you again next time on the Balls Deep EA College Football Headquarters podcast.